weren't aware. Note, someone told me that for these episodes, Nami's VA was pregnant and could not work. So someone else voices Nami. I later was also told by a patron that the VA who replaced Nami for these couple of episodes was Nojiko's voice actress. So that's fucking amazing. I have to admit, I didn't really notice while watching any of these episodes. 70 to 72, I mean. I haven't watched any others yet. While editing, I can definitely tell though, now that I know about it. But I mean, I didn't really notice while I was watching. Okay, so this is just a cute picture of them all having their drinks. I love how carefree the Straw Hats can be. They're quick to spring into action when necessary, of course, but I think due to their Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji's strength and Usopp and Nami's skill, they aren't as anxious or vigilant as some other pirates maybe need to be. I don't know if Usopp has any special skills, and I don't know if Nami, if her skills of navigation are as useful in the Grand Line, which is so different compared to, a regular sea. I don't know if her skills are as useful, but I felt it was fair to name them as well. But I really think it's due to Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji's strength, or maybe they're just, really trusting of each other and each other's strengths that they're able to be so relaxed. Here they actually kind of remind me of Shanks and his men. Back when Mihawk met them on that island, for example. I remember Mihawk saying something like, he's too relaxed about this. I don't know, because they were hanging out on the island and they were like so open about it, like they weren't trying to hide or anything, and Mihawk said something like, he's too relaxed about this, or I don't know exactly what he said, but they definitely made me think of Shanks and his crew. Vivi, who doesn't know them that well yet, and probably had to be a lot more vigilant and cautious when sailing in the past, is understandably confused by their relaxed attitude. At least in my opinion, it makes sense. I saw a few people say they don't like her because of her overly cautious attitude, like she irritates them. But that's just another example of how people's experience of a character can be vastly different. I immediately understood her feelings, whereas some people who are used to the Straw Hat's rambunctiousness seem to dislike her because of it. I think the scene where the giant dolphins dive makes a wave and Luffy and them almost immediately jump up to ride the wave is a good indication of how in sync they are as a crew, and as a result of that, how quick they rise to the occasion when any sort of challenge appears, in spite of their relaxed attitude. This was a cute little island. I think it was the island where we first met Mr. 3 and Miss Golden Week. I'm kind of curious about this holiday resort type of island where Mr. 3 and Miss Golden Week were introduced. So I'm just wondering, like, there will probably be like a lot of islands that we see for a moment, but I mean, Luffy and them can't stop at every single island. So the fan fiction in this anime, like the possibilities are literally limitless when you think about something like this little island, a resort island. Like, they can have a little adventure there. No wonder there's 800 episodes in this damn anime. There is so much potential. To be honest, I wouldn't even be surprised if we did get a mini arc on Resort Island. I don't know. Fun fact for those of you that aren't Japanese maybe and don't know this, I've heard about Golden Week before, but I don't know exactly when or what it was, so this is just a fun fact I chose to include. Golden Week is a week from the 29th of April to early May, containing a number of Japanese holidays. Current practice, many Japanese nationals take paid time off during this holiday, and some companies are closed down completely and give their employees time off. Golden Week is the longest vacation period of the year for many Japanese workers. So this is an update on a list that I started earlier, I think a couple of episodes ago. We have now come to know the following members of Baroque Works. Let me just put that in there. Of Baroque Works. I don't know if you spell it with a Q at the end, but I'm going to spell it with a Q at the end now. Miss Friday, who is the otter, I think. I think someone told me it's the otter, because I remember saying Miss Friday, and then I was like, wait, who's Miss Friday? And I think someone said it was the otter or the vulture. And then Mr. 13 is either the otter or the vulture. I don't know which one. Miss Wednesday worked with Mr. 9. Miss Monday worked with Mr. 8. Miss Valentine worked with Mr. 5, or is working with Miss Golden Week works with Mr. 3, and Miss All Sunday is the boss's partner, and Mr. 0 is the boss. So we have yet to meet Mr. 2, Mr. 4, 6 and 7, 10, 11, and 12. But there are more than like 2,000 employees, so I doubt we are going to meet them all. Mr. 3's glasses shone really brightly twice from what I can remember, in episode 70 when we meet them and at the end of episode 72. I wonder if this is a visual choice or if it's somehow related to his power, assuming he has a devil fruit power. I'm like trying to pick up on all the little clues that might be dropped because I want to try and figure out his power, although I haven't come up with any theories on that yet. I think he definitely does have devil fruit powers, since Mr. 5 does, and it'd be rare for someone to be stronger than him without the power of the devil fruit, but not really, since Mihawk is a super powerful swordsman that could probably easily beat many devil fruit users, so maybe I shouldn't assume so quickly. Although even Miss All Sunday has devil fruit powers. I guess that's why I made the assumption that everyone from from number 5 to 0 and their partners will probably have devil fruit powers. So I'm assuming he does. I don't know, but I'm assuming. Usopp is easily the funniest Straw Hat in my opinion. He makes me laugh more than anyone else. I really think so. The Usopp hammer moment from episode 41 or around there during that arc is still one of my favorite and most hilarious moments. Like, I don't remember when I laughed more, harder, and like more sincerely. Like, sometimes you laugh because something is funny, but like if I was even slightly tipsy during that episode, I would not have stopped laughing. I would have started tearing up. I would have peed myself because it's just so funny. But yeah, I think he's definitely, like, a lot of interactions between the Straw Hats make me laugh a lot, but Usopp is the character who can by himself do and say things that are so funny, and I can just laugh so much at just him. I love him a lot. Luffy being all excited for an adventure and saying, Sanji, Bento, Sanji, reminds me that he really is like a little kid. It's so cute though. Speaking of cute, Sanji tying the backpack for Luffy after putting in the lunchbox is also too adorable. This was the second episode I noticed Zoro saying, damn straight. He doesn't say it that way. Or whatever the Japanese phrase actually means. So I'm aware that he probably says something in Japanese that maybe doesn't have a perfect translation, so they just translated it to damn straight. But I've never heard another character say this, and I think it's really cool. I hope he says it more in the future. Also, the way he slowly sheaths his sword after he's defeated his opponent, and the camera zooms in until it clicks once it's fully sheathed. That's also like a Zoro thing. I really like picking up on these little, things that character does. For example, Luffy often says, it's huge! Like, that's also something, I don't know if it's necessarily something he does a lot, because the others have said, oh, that's huge. Remember that huge turtle that Miss All Sunday was on? But it's definitely something special to Luffy as well, because he says it a lot, okay? But yeah, I'm trying to look for little things that, because obviously each character has their things. Like, Sanji is a cook and he fights with his legs, and Zoro is this stoic personality and he's a three-sword fighter. Like, they all have their big things that identify them as characters, but I think also they have very small character habits that I think is unique to One Piece, because generally when an anime characterizes its characters, it's usually the tsundere type, it's the yandere type, the dere dere. Like, there's these big things that you can categorize them as their character. But One Piece is because it's such a long series, it can really take time to develop its characters, and give them little things that you can identify them by, like little character habits that I don't think a 12 episode anime always has time to make recurring, so that you actually notice it and you can identify them by that. Okay, this book is quite interesting. I wonder if we'll ever get to meet the writer, expedition leader Louis Arnault. So I think that's an important name to remember. Any name, I guess, is important. This is called Bragmen, so it's like kind of a logbook. I'm not sure. Or it's just a book about this island, but then it would have said Little Garden. So I don't know. I'm just quite interested in this book and what it's. When are we going to find out more about it? Because definitely it wouldn't just be there and have this big focus moment and the guy Louis Arnaud, like I think is definitely hinting at something that's coming in the future. Episode 71, Humongous Battle, the giants Dorry and Brogy. Nami and Usopp's interaction with each other and Brogy at the start of this episode is absolutely hilarious. I laughed even more while editing. I don't know why sometimes I'm maybe a first time viewing is like you don't notice everything the way you do with a second or a third viewing. So sometimes while editing, I feel like my reactions are to some jokes, some things that maybe go over my head, some funny moments. My reactions are actually better while editing and rewatching the episode essentially. I wish I could imagine I do reactions, like a first time reaction video, and then I edit the video live and you guys can see me reacting to me editing. How do I say this? Imagine I react to the episode and then while I'm editing the video, you can watch me live talking about it, making notes and reacting to the episode. Oh my god, that would be insane. That would be like Inception, Reactception. But I would not do that because it already takes me too long to edit these and do the notes. That would just take 10 times longer because I'd keep talking to people about things and I'd be spoiled. This makes me think of what I was wondering before. Like some animals in this world are treated with respect or like people. For example, the whale they met when they entered the Grand Line. But other animals are pretty much just treated like food. I think the difference is just their consciousness level or their level of intelligence. Probably like Laboon was said to have the heart of a human or something like that. Even during the Orange Town arc, I thought that Doggy was treated like he was a person by Luffy because he like talks to them and he had a kind of a personality of his own, that dog. But I'm probably just overthinking it, but it's still interesting to ponder the roles and differences of animals in this world, this One Piece world. Because even in our world, there are differences. For example, in the Western world, it's okay to eat pigs and cows, but not cats and dogs, for example. And the reason this interests me, because I know there are people that always say, oh, you talk too much and you overthink things and everything. There's a reason, because the stuff interests me. Like while I was at university, I had Mandarin for like 2 years, and I can't remember shit now. But I did really well back then, and I remember we were in class one day, and the teacher, who was a guy from China, he started talking about like I guess he just wanted to point out the differences between, you know, eating cats and dogs and the conception around that, or the differences between China and where we live in South Africa, because it's also not like we don't eat cats and dogs, like I don't know. But I remember thinking even back then, a lot of people were like giving reasons why it's wrong and stuff. And I remember thinking like, how is it wrong if you know, animals are breeded to be eaten? Like, what? I just remember wondering like, what makes it okay and what doesn't make it okay? Like, when do you know when an animal has a type of conscious, like how do I say, like, we wouldn't eat a monkey. Oh, I actually think there are people that eat monkey brains, or is that just a thing in cartoons? I don't know. But it's just an interesting thing to think about, right? And this world is so well developed. I'm pretty sure Oda considered, you know, what is the relationship between humans and animals, and there's a hierarchy, you know. Humans are apparently at the top of that hierarchy, and maybe, you know, because in this hierarchy, it's humans, Laboon, Doggy, random dinosaur that's head was chopped off. Clearly this dinosaur is at the bottom of the food chain because it just gets chopped head off. We're supposed to be like, okay, it's not Laboon, it doesn't have a human heart, so it's normal, it's just eating a cow, eating bacon. So it's just interesting to consider the differences, and like we could have a long discussion about, because there's people probably watching that are vegetarians and they have their reasons, and like I have my reasons for not eating certain kinds of meat, but it has nothing to do with this kind of like right and wrong. It's more about, like, you know, what's better for my body, personally. So it's an amazing conversation, and these are the kind of things, like, I love that anime deals with these kinds of things. Like, later in the episode, it brings up the concept of honor and what does that mean to a person, and like Usopp wanting to be a warrior of the sea, and he's impressed by these honorable giants. Like, these kinds of arbitrary topics is what I love. Like, I love it when anime brings them up, and then I want to talk about it. But the problem with One Piece, the only problem, if you could consider it a problem, is that there's so much that it brings up. Like, you would literally, if you picked everything apart, if you did an actual, like, my notes are not, like, they're long, I know that. But if you had to do an actual, like, film study, anime study on One Piece, my notes are nothing compared to what they could be. But, you know, we have time constraints and all this kind of stuff. And, yeah, one day I'll probably, you know, if I ever catch up with One Piece, I'll watch it again and I'll update my notes and I'll expand on them. But that is way down the line. I'm just saying that there are so many interesting conversations to be had. Just to remember in the future, the Titans or Giants or Kyojin's names are Dorry and Brogy. So I wrote this at the time when I every now and then I'd forget the name, but by now I've written it so many times I won't forget. But who knows? Down the line I may forget, and then boom, there, I just look back at episode 71's notes and there we go, names. I love the animation or scenes of Usopp and Nami running away from Brogy. They were running and then they were they had this moment where they were both jumping over a log or something, and they had these hilarious faces, so much to love. I'm not sure if it's Nami's voice actor or the scenes or what it is, but I'm loving Nami a lot more in this episode, or in these two episodes actually. Actually in all three. Now that I'm thinking about all three. She has a different energy about her, and it's not that I'm even trying to like her or looking for things to like. It's just that the scene she's been in and her reactions as a character, and yes, even her voice acting, maybe especially her voice acting, is just more likable to me at the moment. What's likable to one person may not be likable to another. I'm just explaining how I feel as I feel it, so that if I say I like this character or I don't like this character, you will have an opportunity to understand why I personally feel that way. I do it in all my reaction videos. I'm honest about who I like and don't like, and I try to give an explanation because it's natural for people to like or relate to different characters, although our reasons may differ. But I always give reasons, because if I don't, then people assume the reasons, and then they always make me out to be this, I don't know, stupid person. Like, when I didn't like Gato from One Punch Man, at first I just said, nah, I don't like this character so much. And then people started assuming the reasons why I didn't like him. Like, I don't understand his character and this and that. And then I was like, no, I understand he has a backstory. I just don't agree or necessarily think that condones his actions and da. So I really go out of my way to explain my reasoning, just so people like don't assume, because that can be frustrating. And then I found out from John Smith, who's a patron, her original VA had to leave due to pregnancy until episode 78. During episode 70 to 78, Nami is voiced by Nojiko's voice actress. So I'm thinking maybe the way that Nami's actual voice actor does her voice acting, maybe something about that puts me off. Like, yes, I get, like, yes, some of her actions put me off. And yes, the people trying to push Nami love down my throat also put me off. But in these episodes, it was so easy to like Nami. And maybe it's just a coincidence that her actions aren't the same as they were in the past, when like she's not doing anything. This doesn't concern money. So maybe that, alongside the fact that Nojiko is voicing her, because in these episodes I feel like she's so likable and I like her in these episodes. I wish she would voice her forever. But probably it's not just the voice acting, it's the situation that they find themselves in. Money isn't involved. She's nowhere near Luffy, so she can punch him all the time, and she hasn't been punching Usopp in moments where I feel it's really unnecessary. So yeah, I really liked her in these 3 episodes. Dorry says to Luffy, "We live 3 times longer than you little pipsqueaks. This has me curious about the average life expectancy in the One Piece world. This is not something I want anyone to answer. This is not something I want answered by anyone. I'm just curious, and I'm looking forward to making my own assumptions about the world and facts like this as the story progresses." So this is the same kind of fact, like, how are animals treated in this world, and which animals are okay to eat and which animals aren't. Like, our world has rules like that depending on the region or whatever. And now this is something like, what is the average life expectancy in One Piece? And that will also probably be different in different places in One Piece and whatever. So remember, this is a different world, yes. And I'm here trying to make sense of it all and trying to understand and explaining my own thoughts and feelings on this world. So yeah, I am a person that overthinks and does these notes, and these things are very interesting for me to think of because it sets up an amazing world with depth. You know, it's not just a world that someone dreamed up and now putting in characters. I feel like Oda really thought about what kind of world this is, what kind of places there are, what kind of people, how they interact. Like, he's a good writer, and I feel like he considered these things, and that's why I like taking the time to think about them. Okay, where is this picture? Okay, this is a little igloo, but it kind of like ice, kind of like, I'm curious about this little hideout and what it's made of. It looks like ice, but when the dinosaur tried to bite it, it sounded like some kind of metal. So I don't know. And it obviously it must have something to do with their powers, either Mr. 3 or Miss Golden Week. I don't know yet. But I'm thinking it has something to do with Miss Golden Week's powers because she looks like she's dressed for summer, and this is like, it looks like ice. Maybe ice steel power, I don't know. And it would be ironic if she was dressed like she's on summer holiday when she has ice powers. I don't know. It's like Gray in Fairy Tale. He's always hot, like he takes off his clothes because he's an ice wizard so he doesn't get cold. I don't know. Okay, episode 72, Luffy's anger. A dirty trick in a sacred battle. I decided to watch another episode, 3 instead of 2 like usual, because episode 70 didn't have much progress in terms of the plot. Not that it matters, as I mentioned, because those kinds of episodes are still fun since we get to know the crew better. And that's what I was saying earlier about, you know, because there's more time to develop these characters, we can get to know them better, their little quirks and stuff, not just the big stuff that identifies them. So yeah, those kinds of episodes are good, but I just wanted to add one more episode so it'll make a more interesting reaction video. The Warriors' flag's simile is important, I believe, especially considering Luffy and Usopp are impressed by these two giants and their feud. This was when Usopp was saying, and that flag is even more important to them than their lives. So that Warriors' flag. When I say it's important, I mean that it will probably be easier to understand their development as characters and decisions they will choose to make in the future if I remember this Warriors' flag and the impression that it had on them. I love the characters' different reactions to the fight. Usopp and Luffy are very impressed and in awe. Vivi and Nami can't relate at all, and it seems like a useless fight to them. And to that, I relate. Zoro and Sanji are so absorbed in their own competition, they aren't even aware of the two fighting giants at that point. It's kind of like Usopp and Luffy they're looking up to these giants. They're like, especially Usopp, he's like, this is who I want to be. And I think to some extent Luffy too, like that honor inspires him. Whereas Zoro and Sanji, they're like, in terms of maturity, they're older. They're not looking up to anyone specifically right now in terms of shaping who they want to be. They know who they want to be, and they're being them. So, and I think they're actually very similar in a lot of ways, and that's why they end up competing so much. But this is just me rambling. Vivi and Nami can't relate at all, and it seems like a useless fight to them. Usopp said, if those warriors have a village, I really want to see it someday. I'm curious to see if that will come true in the future. I try to make sense of it or understand the fight, to be honest, but honor means something different to everyone. For me, there is nothing honorable about fighting to the death about something you don't even remember. It seems pointless, a waste of time, energy, and a valuable life. But once again, honor means something different to everyone. As long as they're just killing each other and no one else is involved, they're only harming themselves, so I don't need to care. I don't, like, I'm just considering, like, imagine if I was in that world and they're fighting on a remote island, like, their fight doesn't really inflict harm on anyone besides themselves. So if that's their honor and it doesn't inflict harm on anyone else, like, that's fine. Then they can have their honor, and I'm just trying to explain, like, for me, honor means something different. It doesn't, yeah. What is the definition of honor? Honor definition. The quality of knowing and doing what is morally right. So let's say, for example, for me, morally right would mean, like, don't waste your life on your valuable life, because you only get this one. Or I don't know, if you believe in reincarnation, you get more than one life, essentially. But this you now only has this life, and there's so much you could do with it. So for me, the honorable, morally right thing to do wouldn't be to waste your life on a fight that, you don't even remember the reason. So to me, that's not honorable. That's a waste of a valuable life, time, energy. But they are Vikings. I mean, giant, kind of looking like Vikings. Are they Vikings? Were they inspired? They might have been inspired by Vikings. I remember a comment on Patreon saying something like that. But they're giants, and they're definitely pirates because they have that whole bounty. And so oopsies. So they're a different culture, they're different people, and to them, that's honor, and that's fine. I'm just trying to explain, let's say, my perspective on it, and maybe a little bit of Nami and Vivi's perspective on it. So to each his own. Once again, it's not harming anyone besides themselves, so it doesn't matter in the end. I'm just explaining my thoughts behind what honor is for me. I have to be honest, at this point, I don't really understand how their fight works. Only one person can go back to the village. That's what I heard or understand, meaning the other must be defeated or be killed. I'm not sure if they have to kill the other person or just win the fight. So in other words, not draw. I'm pretty sure they called it a fight to the death though, so I don't really understand how they end up on a draw each time, because fighting to the death means fighting to the death. Like, why would you, we're both just punched each other at the same time, break time or draw. Like, I don't understand how fight to the death. Shouldn't you push and fight until the other can't fight anymore? Like, I don't understand. Then you just actually want to fight for 100 years because you're not ending the fight. You just keep drawing and going back, drawing and go. I don't understand. So why do they stop, get some rest, and keep fighting the whole time? Why don't they just fight until one of them wins? I guess it has something to do with fighting honorably, but right now it just makes no sense to me. Then there was a little bit of exchange between Dorry and Luffy that I wanted to take note of. Dorry, that reminds me, a long time ago, a guy left before his log set. Luffy, and what happened to him? Dorry, how the hell should I know? Luffy, he must have made it to the next island. So, I wonder who this person was. It sounds like Dorry is talking about one guy because he said, a guy left before his log set, but I don't think anyone could sail the Grand Line by themselves, so it's probably just a way of speaking. The most likely person, I guess this was, could be Gold Roger, because we know that Gold Roger was the only person to make it to the end of the Grand Line. And I can't think, like, who else would it be? Because it's clearly hinting at someone. Why is this brought up now? And why would it be brought up now if it was someone we don't know yet? So the only person it could be Gold Roger. But anyway, the alcohol Dorry was drinking exploded when it was inside him. One of my patrons commented the following, from Blackblade. Fun theory for UKT. Since Mr. Five's power is turning his own body and what comes out of his body to explode, what do you suppose he did to make that barrel of sake explode? The only theory I have is that he used snot or something that he can will it to explode. He can will to explode. Like, he used a part of his body, he maybe peed in the barrel, he pooped in the, let's not say that, he used snot because that seems to be his thing. Kind of like how Miss Valentine can will her way to change from light to heavy just by saying the amount. She's like kind of concentrating her energy on what she wants to happen. Like, kind of like, you know how a mage or a wizard or whatever, they use an incantation, like to make a spell happen, because it's like focusing their energy and willing it. And she can probably do it without saying it, but she says it anyway for our benefit probably. But she has to still will it. She has to still think lighter, heavier, because she directs her power, right? So maybe Mr. Five's power works the same. If he wants to use his snot as a bomb that detonates on impact, then he just needs to will it. If he wants to use it as a bomb that goes off after a certain amount of time, then he also just needs to will it. This is the best theory I can come up with at the moment. And then I started thinking of something else, and I said, although it might not make sense considering it exploded shortly after he broke the barrel and drank the beer, unless it was some kind of bomb that was set to explode as soon as it was triggered by the barrel breaking, or something along those lines, which still makes sense considering my theory. So all he had to do was will the snot bomb to be a bomb that detonates when, you know, he just broke the barrel. Like maybe some kind of impact triggers the bomb. Like, I don't know if that's one theory. Another theory that just popped up, like different parts of his body is used different, like makes a different bomb. Like a snot bomb is a bomb that detonates on impact, and maybe one of his hairs, if he puts that in, that is a bomb that detonates like when triggered with I don't know. Yeah, it could be impact still, because if he flicks it and it impacts, then there is it's just a moth. If he flicks it and it falls on someone, then so it's that impact. So probably the sake, because he was drinking the first one, so maybe when he broke it, that impact also caused it to explode. So maybe he has snot bombs that detonate on impact. Those are my best theories. Here are a few memorable comments from patrons, from Jackie Wilson, F. Karasind, Johnny Goosh. So if you want to read through these, there's some pretty fun facts, especially this one from Jackie Wilson. You guys can do that by just heading on over to the notes, because my reviews always end up being quite long. So I put these at the end of my notes, mostly for me as a reminder of these cool comments. But if you guys want to go read through them, you're welcome to do so. I'm going to end the video here though before it gets too long, and that makes it like it takes super long to upload, and I want to get this up for you guys as soon as possible. Thank you so much for listening to me. The comments are still turned off, so if you want to chat to me, by all means join my Discord. It's free to join, the link is in the description, and then you can just @Anime-chan and send me, like it's in the anime chat, you can just send me your thoughts. I will get to them, I will reply to you as soon as possible. This just helps me because other people will read the comment probably before me, most likely, and they will alert a mod if it's a spoiler or anything like that. So it helps me out a lot. Thank you guys once again so much for being here. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.